What's up, guys? I'm here talking today about astrology a little bit. I'm talking about the 12 zodiac signs and their taglines, what each means, what each zodiac sign represents in a nutshell. Literally, it's just one word describing the zodiac sign, and I'm going to be going through like the elements and how they pertain to the chronological order throughout the zodiac and how it may benefit you if you understood a little bit of this. So I'll just go off from the beginning with Aries, because that is and we're going into Aries right now. It's March 15th. The equinox is the 20th, and I believe we're going to Aries on the 21st, 22nd. So, yes, going into the new astrological new year, I will be describing what each element or what each zodiac sign is. So, their tagline. The tagline for Aries is I am. It's the initial spark of life that when you come into the world, you are a defined being. You are a human being. You are. So this represents Aries, the first spring of life. In spring, plants have this fiery pulse and this motivation to spring out of the ground and grow anew after the cold winter has passed. And it's this fiery element that is in Aries that, and this fire principle, is seen throughout the natural world in springtime. At the end of March, beginning of April. So, yeah, it's a new rebirth, a new birth. So that is represented by Aries, and it is fire sign, and it means I am. So going on to Taurus, that is a earth sign, and that is the second sign in the zodiac, and it means I have is the tagline for Taurus. I have is basically meaning, when you're about 2 years old, you go around and kind of identify with objects and kind of figure out like, oh, this is mine, and that's my brother's or my sister's, and you kind of find out what you have as a resource for yourself when you're young, and how you perceive value, also how you ultimately what you get out of the your possessions, and also it could be relationships, but I'm not going to get too complicated in astrology. It's going to be laying a foundation here in this video. So Taurus, earth sign, tagline is I have. Gemini, which my sun sign is. By the way, there's many other factors and perspectives that you must consider when thinking about astrology, because you can't always go off the sun sign. My sun sign is Gemini. However, to explain this, the sun sign is your soul, basically. It's not your personality, it's not your experience, your environmental experience that you've encumbered throughout your life. It's your soul is the essence of what you are beyond a identity and as a human being. So in astrology, that is the thing that usually people don't figure out until last. And out of the three main astrological um, configurations, the three most important ones are the sun sign, the moon sign, and the ascendant sign. Not going to get into all that, but I'll briefly go over. The sun sign represents your soul, and usually people don't get to see that part of you until you get to know them, or they get to know you, whatever. The moon sign is your emotional needs and your emotional life, your emotional environment. That is usually the second thing people see from you. You know, like your reactions, your emotional reactions. That is usually not typically, you know, when you first meet somebody, you don't see like their emotional side. They're not going to get like, you know, typically they're not going to get really excited and like really flamboyant or projecting with joy when you first meet somebody, or they won't, you know, sulk and cry and do all those sad things that people will do initially. So that's like, you know, when you start getting to know somebody, emotions come in second. And then at first, when you first meet somebody, you are usually seeing their ascendant sign, and the ascendant is represented by the zodiac sign that was aligned with the eastern horizon when the date, time, and place of your birth. So that's a really important one. That's your personality, your persona that people witness, and people see that when they first meet you. They get that impression, and basically, you know, coworkers see that, or even everyday people see your ascendant, and then that's what they expect of you. Kind of, they expect that first impression. Kind of, you know, it's your first impression. That's what ascendant. So yes, going back to Gemini. Gemini is the third zodiac sign. It's an air sign, and it represents "I think" is the tagline. Next we have Cancer, which is the tagline is "I feel," and that is a water sign. Continuing on here, that the next sign would be Leo. Leo is a fire sign, and the tagline for that is "I create." So you're kind of maybe seeing a pattern here, like throughout life. You know, you go, the first spark of life is Aries. You know, this around 2 years old, you figure out like what you have and what's yours. You know, the terrible twos, they're very possessive, and they're very attached, maybe sometimes. I don't know. I don't have kids, but that's just what I hear. Yeah, the third zodiac, I think, is more of, you know, you start developing cognitive function and abilities around 3 years old. It doesn't have to be 3 years old, but you start to communicate. Also, Gemini represents communication. So you start to speak, use your voice, you organize your thoughts so you can kind of connect with others. I feel is fourth, Cancer. That's like, you know, kind of about boundaries, inner boundaries and outer boundaries, and you know, having your own emotions, that are realizing that other people don't feel the same way that you feel, kind of having that separation. That's around 4 years old. It doesn't have to be 4 per se. It could be 6, could be 8. I don't know. Anyway, I create. That's Leo, and that is a fire sign, and that's when you start, like, you know, getting really arts craftsy, start to express, because you have all this energy and all this experience so far, and so you kind of want to create. It's a natural propensity to express yourself, and that is and these are cycles. All this zodiac signs are cycles. They are patterns in life. They don't have to be years old. They could be, they're seasons. They really are seasons in life. They're, and down to the micro, macro being like yearly, micro, it could be like seconds, it could be minutes, hours. It could be, all these patterns can be deciphered and kind of analyzed in different ways, which brings me to the next zodiac sign, which is Virgo. And that tagline for Virgo, which is an earth sign, is I analyze. Virgo is a very mental kind of earth sign. It's conceptual and a little bit flighty because it's ruled by Mercury, which is like the fastest orbiting planet. Around 6 years old, you start to really question things and kind of figure out how things work a little bit. That's kind of representative of Virgo. Moving on, Libra is the next zodiac sign, and that is an air sign, and it represents kind of how you balance your personal life and your personal identity and ideas and your own relationship with yourself, and how you kind of connect again. There's that connection that air signs have. It's that ectoplasm on the outside of a cell. That's it. That's an air sign kind of. It's the ectoderm. Yeah, ectoplasm, ectoderm. It's the very shell. How other cells communicate with each other. This is air. This is the air element. Libra is about, yes, balancing your own values as well with kind of connecting and seeing what other people have to value, what other values other people have. This is just very general. Of course, you could study this till the cows come home, but just going briefly through this, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Next one is Scorpio, which is a water sign, and that means the tagline is I desire, and that is kind of like the deep instinctual kind of non-conceptual. You don't really, with your emotions, you can't really necessarily control your emotions or justify or quantify or legitimize emotions. They're really deep, they're in the deep water of your body, and they can't really be they're a little bit uncontrollable. They come up and they express themselves, and it's whether up to you or not to express them, but basically you feel that, and you have this like deep kind of desire to do something or create something or make something, whether it be whether it be very simple, like an action that you might do under an emotional outburst. Maybe would be like to scream at somebody because they cut you off in traffic. That's like you desire to like let them know that like that was not a good thing to, or a safe thing, or just a good, just an example. But yes, Scorpio, I desire. It's a water sign. Okay, moving on is Sagittarius, and that is a fire sign, and the tagline for that is I see. Usually Sagittarius is like the journeyer. It's kind of the student and the teacher, but they're more, Sagittarius is like in a shamanic way, like not necessarily studying and like being in the in all the books and reading all this conceptual kind of stuff, but it's more of like a learning and alchemical process of like, because it's a fire sign, it's like it represents kind of like transformation through like changing of the atomic structure, you know how fire does, it just like completely oxidizes and burns things up. So Sagittarius being the last fire sign in the zodiac, the ninth zodiac sign, it means that it's like going on the distance. You know, it's the fire that's going to be like going like throughout the whole ritual of the fire ceremony. So it's you know, I could go into the body parts, but the body part of Sagittarius is the thighs, or the upper leg, you know, thighs and the back of the leg, thighs, the hamstring, I guess you'd call it. It's a very intuitive kind of fire sign. It's about seeing the grand overall picture of a given circumstance, situation, concept, and seeing it from a very high point of view, and seeing it for the whole thing, rather than the polar opposite of Gemini, which is picking out the little pieces, you know, and seeing every little piece for what it is, and finding out, you know, how this relates to that. Like Sagittarius is an overview and sees that same picture, but it is on a wider, just one symbol. You know, Sagittarius is like, yeah, intuitive, so it just sees symbols and realizes, oh, it's, you know, it's much quicker actually. Like, it's an instinctual, intuitional thing that we all have, and I'm not saying Sagittarius are special in like psychic or intuitive abilities. We all have these abilities, but that's kind of what is representative of that fire sign. And again, that tagline is I see, like see. The next one is Capricorn, number 10. That is an earth sign, and the tagline for Capricorn is I use. It's about after all, you know, around 10 years old, it's like, you know, you've had these experiences, you've had these friendships, these relationships with your family, you've got all these cool possessions, you know, everything that you desired, you know, in Scorpio. You already passed that. So finally you come to a point in this Capricorn representation of your life, whenever that may be. Again, going back to the micro and macro scale of seeing these patterns and rhythms in life, they could be, you know, there's 12 zodiac signs, people. There's 12 numbers on the clock. You know, it's all part of the mystery here. So, Capricorn finally sees, after all this experience and all these relationships and friendships, that like, how does this apply? Like, how can I use this to actually make a structure to build something? How can I use all this stuff to build? Capricorn is representative of like bones and the structure, the hierarchy, institutions. It's all about power, basically, about like finding how you can use things to build upon and create something that has a solid foundation, something that is going to serve you and others. Capricorn is all about actually serving and using in a consensus, as it can be selfish, like, Capricorn is represented by Saturn, and it's like, it's Kronos. It's the god in Greek mythology that ate his own children, and Zeus, Jupiter had to like kill Kronos in order to survive, because Kronos was like this really powerful god. And anyway, I'm not like a Greek mythology enthusiast, but it's very interesting. Anyway, yes, Saturn represents structure, power, hierarchy. Yeah, it's I like Capricorns. I'm all about that. That's my north node, my north lunar node, so that's like my evolutionary path. But another video, perhaps, if you guys are interested. Going to zodiac sign number 11, it's I know. It's Aquarius, and that's an air sign. I know it sounds like it's a water sign because it has aqua in it, but it is a air sign, and it is representative of, again, using all the knowledge and all the experience into the integration of how it connects with the individual, as well as like all about mutually shared information. It's all about information with Aquarius, about air signs in general, exchanging of ideas, of concepts, of experience. Aquarius is probably like one of the most idealized signs, because we're going into the age of Aquarius very soon. It's argued that the age of Aquarius is has already like begun, but in my opinion, I think it started to rise to prominence around the 2012 year, and I think we're moving into Aquarius all throughout 2060. So it's like, a 50-year gap, but it's kind of going to take 50 years for the integration of Aquarius to completely show itself in our culture, society, what have you. So that's just my opinion. It's a highly debated topic. Anyway, getting off topic. Air sign, Aquarius, number 11. Tagline is I know. The last one is Pisces, and that is tagline is I believe. It is a water sign, and it's the most mysterious. It represents death, actually. It is even said, every time you go to sleep, you kind of vanish off into the mystery. You don't know, into this like illusory kind of place that you don't know what it is. It's beyond logical thinking, and like it's kind of beyond. It represents like the subconscious, unconscious, super consciousness. Actually, Pisces is very much connected with the eternal, like collective consciousness, like one big ocean. Pisces is represented by fish. So Pisces, yeah, also a very mysterious sign, and what it represents is kind of it represents like the woes and the mysteries of humanity and the earth, and why we are here. And I believe it that's a tagline. It means like what higher ideology or principle do you have, and like how is that connected with others, and how is that like kind of in flow, and how is that how are you able to really integrate that with other people's beliefs and stuff. So again, this is just very brief. I hope that that was a good explanation. I definitely will go through right now, like each sign, each element. So, in chronological order, I'm gonna start from air signs. Air sign, the first in chronological order, it goes: I think, I balance, I know, and that is about having the ability to first think about something and kind of bargain and debate and communicate with yourself, like, okay, how am I gonna, go about doing this? That's Gemini. I balance is Libra, and that's about like balancing what you have experienced, as well as like other people's opinions and values, kind of balancing the personal and the individual, and with how it relates to others. It is Libra is that kind of the tipping of the scale. It is a scale, like this the constellation is marked out like a scale. So it's the seventh zodiac sign, and it represents like the tipping of the scale in the zodiac, towards like, so the first half of the zodiac, 1 through 6, is more of the personal kind of individual, and then the last half is more representative of like the how the individual is going to relate with others. So without confusing you all too much, Libra is about balancing what you have experienced and what you have learned, and what your ideas are, and how they can really relate and benefit and value others. Libra is also very all about value. It is represented by Venus, and it's about values, personal kind of relationships. And so going on, last air sign is Aquarius, and it means I know. I know is it's integrating. After you found out what you think and finding out what others think in Libra, finally coming to that pinnacle of Aquarius and figuring out like, oh, I know how I'm going to be able to communicate my ideas effectively and in harmony with the rest of my community. Aquarius is all about a community. So moving on, we got fire next, and chronologically going through the zodiac, it's I am, I create, and I see. Aries being, the first spark of life. You come into this world and figure out how to function and who you are, and that you're separate. You're a separated consciousness. You're not part of the eternal soul soup that we, the subtler planes, are representing. But Aries is I am. I am the first. I am the first. So the second fire sign in chronological order is I create. So once you find out who you are and what your identity is, it's like, how do I impose that onto the world, and how am I going to make my mark, and how am I going to get people to notice me and get people to recognize me and give me recognition and acknowledgement. It's all about, like going to the full extent of who you are in expression. It's a principle, it's a fire principle, and it's about, it's a masculine principle, going as far out as possibly can, and then, the sun goes out as far as it can, and then at some point it starts to dissipate the energy that the sun produces, and it's magnetized back in by the sun, and that's like the feminine principle, which is like the water principle, and it magnetizes back into the sun and is recycled. This is the natural process of life and fundamental principles. So, moving on, last fire sign is Sagittarius, and after you find out who you are and how you can express yourself, you find out that how that is going to be applicable to working with others and kind of transforming yourself, and also like going through the motions of life in a very fun way, and having fun. It's about like enjoying and being lighthearted, and also like being very sure about what you see is, and what you sense and what you have expressed is like good enough. And fire signs are very representative of how they can they're and what they do is good enough. Fire signs, like they work hard and stuff, and they're satisfied with their work, like they're satisfied with their expression and their energy output and all that. That's just a general expression, but yes, Sagittarius. Last one in the fire sign in chronological order. Going to water, I feel that is about how you interpret your own like emotions, and how you kind of separate that from others, and how you have that boundary, and you figure out that like what you feel is actually not the same as others, and they don't really understand that you feel this way, and they can't always be nurturing to you, so you have to kind of have that boundary of being able to be self-sufficient while also feeling other people and having that kind of intimate exchange with people. So next one is Scorpio, I desire. So once you figure out in Cancer how you can separate your own emotions from others, then you begin to see that you actually have like you want to have relationship with people. You want to have you want to get something out of